Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing this makeup look. This is inspired by Bybrookelle, who is on Instagram. This is the photo here that I was trying to recreate. Obviously looking at this photo now, we do have very different features, so the makeup was never going to look the same, but I thought it was worth a try. She's a makeup artist. I'm very inspired by all the work she does. She is amazing. So starting off, I'm using MAC Painterly Paint Pot all over the lid and then going in with MAC Studio Fix powder to set that in place. Next, I'm taking some MAC shades. I will leave these in the description bar. I'm just taking any sort of peachy orange shade and buffing this up through the crease into the brow bone. I was using this as my transition shade. Now for this look, it does require a lot of blending, and this is one of the things I really learnt. Now going in with a slightly darker pink shade, and I'm placing this deeper into the crease and building that out. This look took a lot of layering, and I didn't have quite right shades. So I did mix from a few different palettes, but basically you'll need oranges, pinks and purples as your main colours. Now for my purples, they weren't quite the right shade, so I did have to build several times, but basically I'm now creating a halo eye with the purple eyeshadow on the inside and outside corners of my eye. I am going back and blending constantly with big fluffy brushes and either the orange or the yellow shade. Now taking this shade, I needed a dark purple and this was the closest I had. It has more of a black base and purple running through it. I did find this shade really hard to work with as it was quite patchy, and also because I didn't have the right shade, I sort of jumped from a medium purple to an almost black shade, which meant the blending was very difficult. With these shades, I am going constantly back to layer the shades to build the intensity, as I want to apply a small amount and then reblend to try to get the softest blend. But like I said, this shade wasn't ideal and ended up being very patchy, so if you have any shade other than this, that would be better. I then cleaned up under the eye slightly. I sharpened the line very softly and then went back later in to blend it. Now I'm doing the cut crease, which I regret doing at this stage as the inner and outer corner weren't dark enough, so I had to go back and do those later. So realistically, get your eyeshadow as close as you possibly want to the finished look, then do your cut crease. I really struggled with this as well, as I don't think I used the correct brush, and I ended up not being able to get a sharp enough line. I also was trying to give myself quite a large lid space to follow Brooke's eye shape, but it was quite difficult as my eyes are very different shape. I'm then taking a white shade and setting the concealer down with that and trying to make that as soft as possible. I'm taking a medium purple shade and starting to blend that white into the purple that's on the outside and inner corner. At this point, I do realise my eyes aren't dark enough, and I go back and add more of the darkest shade I was using. It is quite stressful, as it was very hard to blend and I was feeling like it was getting more and more patchy and I just needed to leave it alone. I then took one of my MAC pigments in a slightly shimmery white shade and applied this to the very centre of the lid, just to give a bit of a reflection. Now taking a black gel liner, I very closely lined my top lash line, just because I knew I was going to be wearing false lashes and I wanted to hide any lash band that could be shown. But I didn't wing this eyeliner out or make sure, and I also made sure that it was a very fine line. Now this is me just kind of looking at it and realizing I'll do my brows and see how it looks now. So do my brows off camera, but I am now applying a primer. This is a Lancome one, I think. I'll leave it in the description bar. I just wanted something that was mattifying and quite pore filling because I knew I was going to be applying a full coverage. Then because I'd applied a matte primer, I wanted to use something luminizing, so this is one of the Maybelline liquid highlighters. I applied this to just the top of the cheekbones. Now taking a mixture of the Clinique Beyond Perfecting foundation as well as L'Oreal True Match, I added these two to my skin and tried to give myself as full a coverage as possible, as if you look at Bybrookelle's photos, you will notice she has very, very flawless skin and always looks incredible. I am then taking a wet Real Technique sponge to blend that out. Next step is to use my MAC Pro Longwear concealer. I'm using this in the shade, I think, NC20, and applying this under my eyes to highlight. I'm also applying this on the center of my face to create a highlight. And again, taking my Real Techniques damp beauty blender, or beauty sponge, Real Techniques sponge, and buffing that out. Now taking a cream colour from one of my Morphe palettes and using this to cream bronze. I did feel like the foundation ended up being a little bit light, as well as the fact that Bybrookelle continues to have coverage, so I wanted to use a cream foundation so it didn't lose any coverage when blending it out. And then going in to set my face with my MAC Studio Fix powder. This again would add more coverage as it is a foundation powder. Now for the underneath of the lash line, she had a quite bright blue, and I really struggled to find the right colour, so I'm using a MAC eyeliner in my waterline and also buffing that along the lower lashes first. I then take an electric blue shade and set that on the inner of my eye on the waterline as well as underneath the eye. I then went in and buffed this out with sort of a pinky purple shade and connected that to the outer V of my eye. Here I am just blending out the very edges again. This look took a lot of blending and I probably spent close to an hour just doing the eyes and blending. Now taking one of the Makeup Revolution highlighters in one of the palettes, I think it's the Ultra Cool palette, and applying that to the inner corner as like an iridescent pink. Now for lashes and mascara, I popped on some of my MAC lashes and just some mascara on top and bottom as well. The lashes really helped pull the look together, as it looked a little bit full on before, but the lashes really balanced it out. Then taking my Morphe contour palette, and I used the contour shade and went over it with MAC Give Me Sun powder to bronze up a little bit more. I then took one of the lighter shades in the Morphe palette and carved out the bottoms of my cheekbones because my bronzer got a little bit further down. Then using my Morphe palette for blush, I chose a pink and a coral to mix together to give me a little bit of colour on the cheeks. These blushes were very pigmented and I ended up applying too much, so I buffed that out. Then went back in with my sponge to add foundation on it to soften the blush. As you can see, blending is thirsty work here, so I did take a break to drink a lot of water. Now for highlighter, I am using one of these Sleek palettes again and applying the highlighter to the tops of the cheekbones. Now for lips, as you can see, she has very large lips and I do not, so I knew that getting my lips to look anything like hers would be quite difficult, but I chose one of the Colourpop shades. I am not sure of the name because it was in one of the holiday sets a while ago, but I basically lined my lips very much out of my lip line on top and bottom and tried to give myself a similar lip shape to her as possible, but I knew this would be one of the parts which would never look the same. So I hope you guys think I did an alright job. I absolutely had so much fun doing this, even though it was quite a challenge. And I hope you enjoyed the final look. Let me know if there are any other influencers makeup you'd like me to try. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe and like. Thank you so much. Bye.